Welcome back to the road trip. We're now inside the NASA training facility in Houston. Okay, let's get started, shall we?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Building 9, or members of the media have referred to as the giant space toy box of your dreams. Here we call it the astronaut training facility and the home of the space vehicle mock-up facility. But I will say, giant space toy box isn't too far off. Now this building houses mock-ups and models of spacecraft, robots, and training simulators. Since 1980, every NASA astronaut has walked the floors of this building in preparation for their next mission. Their primary objective? Updating hardware for our current space station missions, as well as preparing for the next generation of space flight, the Artemis programs. Whoa. Now then, to begin our tour, on the far right-hand side, underneath the American flag, you'll see these large white and gray cylinders. Those are all full-scale mock-ups of the International Space Station modules. The modules that you see are a mixture of low, medium, and high-fidelity mock-ups. They are used to train the astronauts that will travel to the ISS in basic procedures and system familiarization. To understand the sheer size of the ISS, it measures about 356 feet or 109 meters. It is roughly as long as an American football field. The ISS is traveling around the Earth so fast that in one 24-hour period, it revolves around Earth 16 times. The primary goal of the ISS is to facilitate science experiments that cannot be done here on Earth. The station has had many scientific breakthroughs throughout its 23 years in orbit, like innovations in water filtration and purification systems that allow the station to recycle 93% of the water on board, as well as fundamental disease research on cancer, asthma, heart disease, and other medical conditions. The ISS is a global partnership of 15 different countries and 5 space agencies, which helps guarantee that the discoveries made in orbit will be shared throughout the world. They have been working for over 20 years to create the most prominent international peacetime collaboration in history. Now for our next note. If you notice the ISS mission module with all the little mission patches put on front of it, in front of that is a little gray capsule. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the Russian Soyuz. This capsule is used for astronauts, cosmonauts, and supplies to travel to and from the ISS. NASA relied on the Russian Soyuz as the only mode of transportation to and from the ISS after the decommissioning of the Space Shuttle program back in 2011. That is, until the launch of the SpaceX rocket in 2020. This kicked off NASA's Commercial Crew program. NASA's idea behind the Commercial Crew program is to allow private companies like SpaceX, Boeing, Sierra Nevada, and others to collaborate to missions to the ISS. This allows NASA the ability to focus more time on developing new spacecraft that will allow us to travel back to the moon and eventually to Mars. Speaking of the Commercial Crew program, if you look to the left of the Soyuz, you will see a white capsule surrounded by a blue staircase, known as the Boeing Starline. The Starliner is a roomy capsule with a seating capacity holding up to 7 people, and it is designed to have the ability to land on land as well as water. Now, the next step in the world of space exploration is the Artemis program. The Artemis missions will help take humans back to the surface of the moon as close as this year, and it will send humans further into space than ever before. The program will give us valuable information that will help us succeed in our mission of reaching the surface of Mars. Now, because these missions are a huge collaborative effort from so many countries, NASA wanted to create a set of principles that all parties involved could abide by to keep space a shared space for scientific research to benefit all humankind. These principles are what we call the Artemis Accords. Now, at this time, please take any more last-minute photos or videos before we move down the second half of the hallway. And as you move down there, please take note of the silver capsule to our right, as we will be talking about that in just a few moments.
No,คือโปโล
Feel what it feels like. So what I feel. Right, so they have to be able to do it, and do it, to deal with it or not.
But don't they have like special lessons?
They do, but they don't feel it.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen. Now, it has been made aware to me that on this half of the hallway, the speakers are a little bit fainter and therefore harder to hear me. So if I can get a few thumbs up in the very back of the line, give me confirmation if y'all can hear my voice just fine or not. Thank y'all very much. So, to continue on. If you took note of that silver capsule on the way here, or if you need a reminder of where it is, if you look at that back wall, to the right of that bluish light structure, you'll see the same silver capsule. That, ladies and gentlemen, is known as the Orion Command Module. This is the capsule that has been specifically designed to take humans back to the moon as well as into deep space. Engineers and astronauts have been doing extensive training and research to prepare Orion for its future crewed missions that will land on the moon scheduled in this year. The launch of Artemis 1 in November of 2022 was an uncrewed but successful mission that taught us that Orion can complete the enormous goals it was built to achieve. Artemis 2 is set to launch in actually February of 2026 with 4 astronauts that will be the first to operate the Orion capsule. Orion is a much larger capsule than the Apollo mission capsules, as it can carry up to 4 astronauts, while the Apollo mission ones were only able to hold onto 3. Now, for something new. If you look in front of that same Orion Command Module, you'll see this white tube-like structure with a blue staircase leading into a circular opening. This is a mock-up of a part of the lunar orbital platform called Gateway, built by Northrop Grumman. Gateway is another international partnership project that will allow astronauts to have the ability to have a home away from home in lunar orbit. This section is called Halo, and it is one of the habitat modules where astronauts can live and conduct research in lunar orbit. Think of Gateway as just another ISS, but instead of orbiting the Earth, it will just orbit the moon instead. Gateway is a critical part of the Artemis program, and when completed, it will establish a permanent human presence in lunar orbit. Material from the moon at that point will be transformed into power for Gateway operations, which will allow astronauts to stay in lunar orbit for 30 days or more. This efficiency will make it possible for astronauts aboard Gateway to organize extended missions to the lunar surface, and eventually allow Gateway to serve as a midway refueling point for future missions to Mars. Now, for something else new. If you look this time on our very left-hand side of the corner closest to us, you might notice this massive blue metal structure. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the Active Response Gravity Offload System, or ARGOS. ARGOS is used to train astronauts in reduced gravity environments like the moon, Mars, and microgravity. The system uses an overhead crane or robot system to offset the weight of whatever or whoever is attached to it. Astronauts can test a wide variety of motions on this system, such as running, jumping, and walking in these reduced gravity environments. Experienced astronauts have said that the training simulator comes very close to how it feels in space, and NASA has worked with medical professionals to try and deploy a simulator like the Argos in hospitals to aid in rehabilitation in patients. Now then, we do have the next evolution of the Argos, and if you're wondering where that is, you're practically all staring at it. It is this massive black structure spanning from the left side of the room almost to the halfway point of this building. This, ladies and gentlemen, is known as Argos 2. Argos 2 resembles an overhead bridge crane which has a computer-controlled winch to provide a constant force offload above the payload center of mass. To put it to you short, while Argos 1 was mainly meant to simulate microgravity for much smaller objects like people or something much smaller, Argos 2 is meant to do the same job, but for much larger objects, like, say, for example, vehicles. And speaking of vehicles, the Space Exploration Vehicle, or the SEV, can be located in the same left-hand side but descend towards the back corner of the wall. It's a little bit harder to see because they have it turned around facing to the left, but it is that large white machine on wheels just behind these black lockers with a little gold accent at the front. Now, here at JSC, we have two different versions of SEVs. We have the in-space version and we have the surface version. The one that you see down there is the surface version. This vehicle can handle the two astronauts for up to 14 days, and it has the ability to travel thousands of miles over rough terrain. The SEV will help astronauts travel larger distances on different celestial bodies, allowing for more research to be conducted. The type of technology that goes into an SEV will help humans here on Earth in developing highly reliable and efficient electric vehicles. Now then, ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude our tour of the astronaut training facility. I do hope you all enjoyed y'all's time here and got to learn more about the scientific what was going on down here at Johnson Space Center. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me them when we get downstairs, and I'll try to answer all of them to the best of my ability. At this time, we may take any more last-minute photos or videos before we head downstairs and take our seats back on the tram. So, thank you all for y'all's time, y'all's patience, and y'all's interest.
So that's the SCV. Argos 2.